back to the rundown. Let's turn now to the United States, where not only is a new president coming into office, but a new Congress as well. Now, one of the more intriguing freshman lawmakers entering the House of Representatives is Ritchie Torres, a Democrat from New York's 15th Congressional District. He's an openly gay Afro-Latino who grew up in public housing, ran an underdog grassroots campaign with no establishment support in a crowded field, and won. He considers himself a progressive, but unlike some of his colleagues in that wing of the Democratic Party, is strongly pro-Israel as well. And he spoke with our senior U.S. correspondent, Mike Wagenheim.
Happy to be joined today by Congressman-elect Ritchie Torres from New York's 15th Congressional District. Welcome, Congressman-elect. You're in D.C. right now, going through what seems like an interminable orientation. What has this journey been like from long shot, to say the least, to Congressman-elect and heading to the halls of Congress in January?
It has been surreal. You know, I never thought in my wildest dreams as a poor kid from the Bronx that I would become a United States congressman. You know, I spent most of my life in poverty. I was raised by a single mother who had to raise 3 children on minimum wage, which in the 1990s was $4.25 an hour in New York City. And I grew up in the slum conditions of public housing, like mold and mildew, leaks and lead, without reliable heat and hot water in the winter. And so I never thought I would embark on a journey that would take me from public housing in the Bronx to the People's House in Washington, D.C. I'm enormously gratified and grateful.
And nobody really gave you much of a chance. The Democratic Congressional Committee didn't really pay much attention, didn't get much help from the local Democratic Party, no real big-time endorsements, an 11-candidate field. You overcome the odds. The difference now, I guess, in some sense, is that you are a free man heading to Congress. You owe nothing to anybody, and you can kind of do as you please as long as you're representing your constituents back home. That has to be somewhat liberating.
There's nothing more liberating than independence. You know, as you pointed out, nearly everyone was against me, right? Some of the most powerful labor unions were against me. Bernie Sanders was against me. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was against me. The Working Families Party, the Democratic Socialists of America were against me. The local Democratic Party and National Democratic Party thought I had no chance of winning. But I had support where it mattered the most, and that was the support of the people in the South Bronx. Because the residents of the South Bronx saw their own story and their own struggles in my lived experiences. You know, I've been a housing organizer in the Bronx, you know, and I spoke to the bread and butter concerns of health and housing, schools, and jobs. And I was able to win a fiercely contested primary that no one thought I could win on the strength of grassroots campaigning.
You know, the Democratic caucus is going to elect the House Foreign Affairs Committee chairman on Thursday. Yeah. It would certainly appear that Gregory Meeks out of New York is the front runner and will likely win. Folks in Israel are watching this. Eliot Engel was a friend of Israel for a number of years as the helm of that particular committee. What do you know about Congressman Meeks and his approach to Israel? And have you had a chance as a fellow New Yorker to engage with him yet on something that you feel is an important issue in Israel?
I'm a strong supporter of Gregory Meeks. I have the highest respect for him, and I can assure you that he is going to be deeply committed to sustaining and strengthening the American-Israeli relationship. He believes, as I do, that Israel has a right to exist, it has a right to defend itself, and that the American-Israeli relationship is one of the most important bilateral relationships in the world. And we have to preserve it for the next generation of Israelis and Americans.
He's flip-flopped just a bit, to be fair, saying at one point in recent months that he would condition American aid based on some decisions that the Israeli government made in terms of a settlement annexation, applying sovereignty in Judea and Samaria, the West Bank. He has since changed his tone. Where is Gregory Meeks on the issue of aid to Israel, defense aid? Because this is something that the House Foreign Affairs Committee is deeply involved in. Of course, the House controls the purse strings. What do you know about the issue?
I'm confident that he believes, as I do, that the relationship between Israel and the United States is not simply a transactional alliance. It's a friendship rooted in common history and common values. And friendships, by definition, are unconditional. Like, you know, you and I, if we're allies, we can have passionate debates behind the scenes, right? But in the end, our friendship should be unconditional. You should not play hardball with one of our greatest friends in the world. And there's no doubt in my mind that future Chairman Gregory Meeks shares that view.
As a pro-Israel progressive, it almost seems like a paradox to many now that watch the workings of the party with a definite anti-Israel tilt. Where do you think you're going to fall in line in terms of relationships with your fellow congresspeople on the left? And has there been any dialogue so far with those to your left on the issue of Israel?
So I hope to be a bridge between progressives and moderates within the Democratic Party, and I hope to be a model of pro-Israel progressivism. I'm living proof of the notion that, you cannot be both progressive and pro-Israel. That's a living lie. That's a vicious lie. I'm pro-Israel not despite my progressivism, but because of my progressivism. And, the argument I would make is, look, criticism of any country, whether it's the United States or Israel's fair game. What is beyond the pale is BDS, is the attempt to delegitimize Israel, is to single out Israel for delegitimation, right? That's not criticism. That's extremism. That's hate. And we as a Democratic Party should be against hatred and extremism.
Wish you nothing but the best of luck. We'll be keeping tabs on you, certainly. Israel will be keeping tabs on you as well. Be safe, be healthy, and congratulations to Congressman-elect Ritchie Torres. Thanks so much for taking the time out of your day to join us.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.